Some were knitted from dental floss, others were modest and conservative, some were t-shirts and shorts. There were those with skirts and frills, a few even had wetsuits on. But all of them made sure he got a good look at their bathing suits. The body says yes. Apparently his brain has decided that the difference is academic when the figure is like that, and he's had to adjust his shorts more than once. Herbert himself, however, was in rebellion against his traitorous flesh, and decided that he would not be giving them the satisfaction until at the very least he had his revenge, and the girls saw all 4 movies on the list. They barely made it through the first. Oh dear Lord, those things can swim, he mutters as he sees several purras, facehuggers, swimming through the water and even more scuttling along the bottom. Apparently, the little fuckers are amphibious. Joy. The back flaps behind the legs were some kind of flippers, and the tail was a stabilizer that also twisted through the water for more movement. Oh, they're harmless. Sweet as can be. One of the girls chirps from nearby as she cuddles a snake crab thing with bright green and blue patterns across its shell. Like a tarantula and a cobra in one. He mutters, shuffling away a bit. Look, there's nothing to be afraid of. See? His feeder bits are on the front, not the bottom, just a bit of shell to keep his itty legs safe. She explains, holding up the creature even as it wraps its tail around her wrists and pulls them together slightly. He scooches away further at the sight of the wriggling crab legs. No, no, no. If we have to understand why it was so scary, then you have to get over being scared. It's only fair. She says, bouncing over and kneeling down to his level, even as he pulls his feet out of the pool as a swimming Purriz brushes by his feet. He leans back and away from the squirming creature that's letting out a strange rumbling noise similar to a cat's purr but higher pitched. He leans further and further as she presses the issue until he's outright laying on his side with his head on his shoulder and his eyes wide. He's not actually that freaked out, and in truth agreed with her. He needed to understand these creatures better. Sir Philip had been kind enough to offer him some advice, though. He was pretending to be the opposite, feigning fear and borderline panic at the presence of the creature. Make the girls underestimate him and feel like they're getting to him at the same time. The illusion of power is as important as power itself, and the less powerful a spy looks, the less likely they're to be discovered. He had explained it by asking him to examine Sir Philip himself. A thin man with short and brushed-back iron-gray hair, thinning at the front and a great deal of wrinkles, a bad left eye with a monocle over it, and always formally dressed with an enlarged nose and a weak jaw. Yet it was all that which made him look like a harmless old servant. So stereotypical in his appearance as to be boring. Then the old man shifted his posture from stiff and stern to confident and strong. His jaw shifted ever so, and he suddenly had an air of intimidation as he pulled the monocle from his face and tucked it away. The gaze of the somewhat faded eye and bright brown opposite had been unnerving. "No? Please no," he asks, and the Purriz is pulled away. "You're adorably goofy," she says to him, holding her pet away from him and kissing him on the side of the head before stepping away with a giggle. He rises again and glances back to see her joining some of his other wives in a conversation. The water below him was fresh and clean. Clean, but shallow. He glances to where the deeper end of the pool is and notices that there are less of the scuttling horrors the girls consider pets. Okay, so maybe he is freaked out by the things. He's working on it. He admits to himself as he walks along the edge of the pool. He returns the smiles sent his way as the 100-woman-strong family pretty much like to live like it was an unending party. He stood over the deepest part of the pool, which reaches down 4 floors, and considers the depth for a moment. "Excuse me," he says to the girl sitting next to the water before diving in and swimming down a bit. A sensation causes him to turn, and he sees that 3 of the girls had apparently fallen in after him. He then reorients himself and begins pulling downwards. Part of the training back on Earth had been breath control and adjusting to harsher pressures, just in case there was some kind of environmental breach on a world with a denser atmosphere. He pulls himself downwards over and over again. Sinking deeper and deeper into the water, he passes by a point where the water pressing in is all the harder, and he pops his ears and then continues on the way. Another pop, and he rights himself to touch the bottom. A slight cracking noise to the side, and he turns to see a light blue and beige Purriz. It seemed to notice him, and he launches up from the bottom. He was running out of air, not running from the alien equivalent of a cat. A few hard pulls and he passes several girls who are in the process of diving down. A few more and he breaks the surface and pulls in a huge lungful of air. The mild spots he'd not noticed dance for a few moments and fade. He's just fine as the girls he passed surface around him. "We thought you were in trouble! You went down for so long and you're not aquatic or amphibious or anything? Yeah, you're like an ape or something. Apes sink and drown. Humans are a bit better than that in the water," he remarks, swimming back a bit with his arms crossed. Then something grabs at his foot and he immediately races towards the edge of the pool, thrashing his leg as something grasps tight around his ankle, and then he stops. He looks down, and to the amusement of everyone present, holds up his leg with the light blue and beige purriz wrapped around his ankle and foot. "You scared him," one of the girls accuses in an amused tone. "Hell, he scared me," Herbert protests as he starts trying to unwrap the beast and sinks a little as it reshuffles around his ankle. After a bit of fevered and futile yanking, he swims back up to the laughter of the crowd. He clambers out of the pool and starts trying to peel the thing off of him. A dark shape glides through the water and a pair of hands holds the wall as one of the girls brings her next hands out to stroke the creature. Its purring becomes more like an idling motor and its grip slackens. "Oh, okay, that makes sense, thank you," he remarks and reaches down to stroke the creature. It's from just behind the tip of its head and down a couple segments of tail. The purring increases and the grip slackens further. Why does an amphibian have tiny furs? Oh, therefore, sensing things in the water or air. They have weak eyes, so they get around with touch, sound, and scent. The girl next to him answers as he strokes it again. The purring rises and falls in a strange rhythm. "He really likes you. It usually takes longer for a Purriz to get used to someone. I'm sure I just smell tasty or something." "Oh no, they're scavengers. They don't hunt. Heck, they don't even nibble like other pets," she says as he strokes it again and it fully releases him. He watches it sink into the water and pulls his feet away as it seems to come to its senses and swim off, utterly harmless but still a freaking facehugger. "If you say so," he says, and she giggles. "Oh, you worry too much. Would we have them as pets if they're dangerous?" Yes. "Danger level isn't really something to consider when you want to domesticate something," he answers, and she clucks her tongue at him. "Really?" "Yay, really. The most heavily domesticated creature back home is the dog, which is a selectively bred version of a wolf, a fierce competitive predator that uses pack tactics against us. Being chased by wolves is a primal human fear, and they're very dangerous, especially when rabid. But you tamed them? To the point that dogs are called man's best friend. Hell, the reason no one brought a dog on the trip was because no one wanted to torture a poor animal with all the confusion and distress that zero gravity would bring. And you think a Purriz is scary? You saw the movie. That was not a Purriz, that was a hellbeast rape monster from the darkest depths of depravity," she protests, pointing her top right hand at him sternly. "That resembled a Purriz?" he insists. "Only vaguely, and you know it," she snaps back and he chuckles. "You're fond of the freaky little things, aren't you?" "Yes, and they're not freaky," she protests and he laughs again. "I'll give them a shot, but they best not scuttle onto me as I sleep." "They're bad at climbing, don't worry," she says, and he considers, "meaning they'll try to slip into my bed but won't be able to," he mutters. "Oh, stop. They won't eat you, they won't hurt you. The thing they associate with food is a can opener, not a moving person of any race. Facehuggers are alien cats that swim but not climb." "Got it. What's a cat?" "A pet from Earth." "Describe it," she offers, and he shrugs. "Small, furry, inquisitive eyes and twitchy ears with a long tail. They're very graceful and balanced on all fours, and are skilled ambush predators. They were initially tamed to hunt pests that got into food stores and the like. Keep the rats and mice at bay." "Wait, they're straight-up hunters?" "So are dogs." "So you have two races of predators as pets, one using pack tactics to fight, meaning they gang up on their enemies, the other an ambush predator. And you think Purriz are creepy?" she demands incredulously. "They're scuttly spider snakes, that is creepy," he asserts, and gets a dirty look in return. "Okay, you know what? I think it's time you see some of our horror movies for context, just so you know what's actually scary. Like ambush predators in your home. She snaps at him and he raises an eyebrow and considers. What are you thinking? That's actually a good idea. I'd love to watch some more horror movies, get some culture with my guts and gore, he offers with a teasing grin. Her coloration shifts in what he thinks is a blush before she looks away. Oh no, what have I done? No takebacks, he teases, and she turns around and yanks him into the water. Oh, she's playing that way, is she? He asks himself as he sinks. She starts to climb out of the pool, no doubt in a huff, and he pulls her back in via the tail. He can hear her shriek of surprise from under the water and quickly swims up to smile right in her face. A waggle of the eyebrows, and he helps her to the surface. No reason not to be a gentleman in his childishness. She faces him totally and doesn't say a thing as he smiles at her. You know, I can't tell if you're angry at me. I don't know how to read your faces just yet. So you can't tell between this, she smirks, but that's the only change. And this, she asks, and there's no change. No. What if I do this then? She asks, and she grabs him by the shoulders and pulls him in for a kiss. It's not a deep kiss, or an intimate one. Lip to lip and no spit exchange. But she pulls away smiling brightly. What do you get out of that? That I did something right? That you did something right? That you need to earn my attention? She asks and seems to pause. Oh, that is adorably strange, she says before pulling herself out of the pool and keeping her tail upwards to give him a very good look of her jiggling rear as she does so. She turns to see him staring and giggles to herself. She taps her shoulder and he blinks before looking over. Gah! He exclaims as he tries to swat away the bright blue and yellow Purriz that had perched on his shoulder. It simply wraps its tail around his arm in response.